Devy Degens, welcome into another episode of the Devy Degens. I'm S. Romero with my co-host Tom Harvey, and today we are doing a 3-round Devy mock. We are not including people that we believe will declare for the 2026 NFL Draft. So this is to help you get prepared for the future. All that and much more on this episode of the Devy Degens.
Breaking down the hate, man, we call it like we see it. Finding all the gems while the rest just sleeping. Freshmen to the league, we ahead of the curve. Picking out the next star, put them on the reserve. From the big time schools to the deep cut finds. Gotta know who's next when it's draft day time. Stock rising, playmaking, watch them ball out. Devy Degens, yeah, no doubt. Yo, it's time to talk the future Devy style. Prospects rising, diamonds shining. Only the real ones grinding. Welcome to the Devy Degens, let's go. Let's go!
Devy Degens, I am S.C. Romero with my co-host Tom Harvey. Tom, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right, You know, the mustache is
I see it.
fully grown out, so
I was looking at it, I was like, man, this guy looks a little different, a little better there. I see you. No shave November, too, so you got to keep that on at least the rest of November there. So
right,
love it
right.
there. Looking good, man. You know, speaking of mustache, these are growing. This mock that we did, I feel like some guys had grown on us that we were like,
yeah,
that's the word talking about them, and now it's like, okay,
yeah,
they're on our radar now, right?
absolutely. You know, and just a little caveat for this Devy draft we're doing here. It does not include incoming freshmen. So that we'll do another one in the spring that does include incoming freshmen, which we're going to have several of them on here. So
right. Yeah, because I'm not gonna lie, I still need to watch the tape. Obviously, we know Dion Bell, we know Faison, we know Chris Henry Jr., Ethan Fuster, Tristan Keys. A lot of great names to go, but
Savion Hyder.
Need to definitely lock into that tape to see what they're all about too. Especially with commits, guys will end up transferring in the portal once the season's over. Maybe these commits end up moving around and stuff like that. So once we get a full idea, their offense and where they're going could adjust how we feel about them ranking. Obviously, there's a lot of talent in that pool of incoming freshmen, but for the sake of this, it's only college players in the nation right now that we believe aren't going to declare. There are some names that people may say, wait, I thought they're going 2026. They are 2026 eligible, but we may think they are coming back for another season as well. So it's going to be a good draft. We're going to talk about some of them. We're not going over every single pick. We'll tell you who we pick, but we're not going to talk about every single player. Amir, I'm going to put out your question once we get to it, because let's talk about guys that caught our eye before we get to Amir's, not question, more of a statement, because I agree with it as well. Morrison, thanks for joining in, buddy. I appreciate you here with us today. Let us know if you have any questions when it comes to the college football landscape right now. So let's go over, our weekend recap. What's been happening here. Who are some players that caught your eye this weekend, Tommy?
Basically the entire Ohio State offense. I mean, Julian Sayin, had more touchdown passes than incompletions. Put up another 3 spot. And then, Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith just going off. Both of them continue to be high-end Devy assets there. And
Carnell Tate's pushing for he was already one at the top. Honestly, he's pushing for maybe the first off the board potentially.
Potentially, yeah. And then, one of our favorite running backs, freshman Bo Jackson, another 100-yard outing for him. That offense just keeps on rolling along. And right now they have one of the leaders in the Heisman race with Julian Sayin.
Yeah.
Redshirt freshman too. That's not very common.
Yeah, no, we were talking about before that we knew the offense once he got his feet wet and understood what they wanted out of him, it was going to be better than what they had in the past, just on what he can do with the ball and the way he could kind of be a magician in escaping pressure and making those plays and throwing with accuracy as well. We're seeing that right now as well. So yeah, good call out with the Ohio State offense. Who else?
Kewan Lacy, just continues to do it. 24 carries, 157 yards, and another touchdown. He is him and our dude over at Missouri, Ahmad Hardy. Those guys continue to force missed tackles, just left and right. We're going to talk about that here in a few minutes. But it would not surprise me if those two end up being Devy RB1 and RB2 after this year.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with Love, leaving. We have Coleman, Buster leaving, Haynes potentially. I mean, definitely have the landscape. They're doing it in the SEC, which I know we're not talking about Alex Scally. The competition does matter when you're in the SEC doing what they're doing. That's going to matter a lot, right? So, no, great call out for them. Stowers, tight end one of the class. I mean, he kind of went nuclear this week.
I wouldn't call him tight end one of the class. I think Michael Trigg and Kenyon Sadiq are probably 1 and 2. But Stowers is probably along the same lines as like a Max Clare.
Yeah, okay.
So I mean, I think this is going to be a pretty deep tight end class coming out.
Yeah, for sure. Stowers came out with 7 receptions, 146 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Wasn't enough to get the win, but still had a great season. Guy I want to call out because this is one, I think he was going to be good out of Tulane. We talked about him before, but Darian Mensah, man, out of Duke, 361 yards, 4 touchdowns, 65.9% completion. He continues to look great and continues to rise. And then his wide receiver in Cooper Bartek, I know we talked about him briefly, 6 receptions, 127 yards, and a touchdown. I just saw Bob comment there. Cooper Bartek, I'm gonna have to dive into that film because is it Mensah? Obviously, Mensah's making it. Cooper Bartek's a senior, but he's doing enough to be his one there, and it's looking really good for him there as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in on Bartek being a high end Devy guy. I mean, to me, he's probably a 7th round draft pick, maybe even undrafted free agent, more along the lines of a practice squad type of player.
Yeah, Amari Thomas, wide receiver out of Houston, had a big week. 10 receptions, 99 yards, and 3 touchdowns as well. Jaden Scott, running back at NC State, came out as a freshman and just dominated. He actually ran all over his team as well. Kind of just was. I forgot who they played. Who they played? Georgia? Was it Georgia Tech?
Georgia Tech, yeah,
they did. They beat Georgia Tech.
Yeah, and I mean, Jaden Scott got his opportunity because Hollywood Smothers was out this week.
Yeah, and he made the most of it. That's what you have to do when you're next man up kind of deal. 196 yards and a touchdown there for Jaden Scott. Emmett Johnson continued to look good for Nebraska. 165 yards, 5.7 yards per carry and a touchdown. Jeremiah Love, it was iffy to start the season, but now I think he ran away with the RB1 right of this class. It's a first round pick.
Yeah,
there could have been talks about him moving down, but as the season progresses, he just needs to get that momentum like a juggernaut, and now he's dominating. 17 carries, 136 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 receptions, 30 yards. All you need is Love at Notre Dame. That's all they need to win, and if they continue to feed him, they're gonna.
Yeah, I mean, and he's averaging this. He's second in the country in scrimmage yards per game. So he's definitely doing his thing. And I have him in my top 5 in the Heisman right now.
Yeah, Love absolutely looking great there for Jeremiah Love and what he's going to do for him. Those are players that caught our eye. Every week we're watching ball, seeing what players are looking good and dominating, and gets our radars on them. So we have to say, all right, we got to go back and watch the tape when that rookie scouting comes in for the next class as well. So excited to see what these guys continue to do and how they can progress. And the guys that get the opportunity, are they going to continue to seize that moment to see more playing time continue to do that, or is it a one-time, one-hit wonder kind of deal? Sometimes it is. But let's go into our mock draft. As I mentioned, or as you mentioned, this mock draft is a 3-round Devy mock. You can say it's really the 2027, 2028 class because we're not including guys that we think are going to be eligible or declared for the 2026 NFL draft, and we're not including the freshmen coming in, so not that 2029 class. So we're really talking about these next 2 years of prospects and where we would have a rank as far as Devy potential right now. I think there are going to be some names that surprise some people as far as how high we're taking them. There's going to be some names that surprise people as far as how low we're taking them as well. Maybe some that aren't even on our list here as far as our top 36 here. Let's bring up Amir's question. He said, might not be watching live, but if Coleman had a QB like Simpson, as in Ty Simpson, he would be better than Ryan Williams. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, if Coleman had a guy that could consistently get him the ball, I think he's more of your prototypical type of NFL wide receiver, whereas Ryan Williams is, he's a little inconsistent. He does tend to have some dropsies, every once in a while. But Cam Coleman, to me, he is your prototypical X receiver, moving into the NFL.
Yeah, For sure. Ryan Williams could easily be the next JSN, next Jackson Smith-Njigba, who's taking the lead by storm right now. But at that very same time, he can easily be someone like, trying to think of a Parker Washington, as far as like just doesn't get the right. I don't think he's gonna get the capital that Parker Washington did it, but just in the mindset of like the team could not use it right or whatever it is. We see it happen all the time where we see some big guys come in and then they don't have it. Coleman, like you mentioned, should be that prototypical X there as well, though. So agree with that as well, Amir. But let's go into it. Our 101 here that we're starting with. If y'all haven't been tuned in into college football or the Devy Degens or just been under a rock for the past 20 years, that you don't know who this is, then I don't know what to tell you. But Jeremiah Smith is our 101 here. Ohio State wide receiver. Even if he's not the top wide receiver in the nation, he is still the most dominant. He came in as a true freshman and dominated. He looks great. He's going to be the 101 in most drafts, to the point where if you had a 2027 pick and you're more of a pretender than a contender, keep your first for the chance that you might be able to get Jeremiah Smith, even in the Superflex league, even in the tight end premium league, even in the RB heavy, whatever type league. Jeremiah Smith is the 101 next year for you. Any disagreements on that?
There's no disagreements there. Jeremiah Smith is the 1-1.
There you go. Who do we have at number 2?
Number 2, I went ahead and put Florida wide receiver Dallas Wilson, number 2 here.
Yes, sir.
Another guy. He is basically a clone of what Jeremiah Smith is. If he can stay healthy, he is the next guy up to me. He's out for the rest of the season now with a leg injury. But going into next year, he's probably going to be that wide receiver one in that Florida offense, which should be much improved with a new coaching staff.
Yeah, for sure. He looked great in his time that he has had on the field. Dallas Wilson, it is unfortunate with the injury. That's something definitely we got monitored throughout the offseason. See if he's able to recover smoothly and healthy from that as well. But I'm also happy that they're shutting him down instead of saying, hey, can you play it? He says yes, and they push him out there, right? Sometimes that's worse. So at least the season's lost for Florida at this point. No reason to keep him in there. Go ahead and keep him out. Let him be ready to go fully next season, and he's gonna take the nation by storm. And I agree. I think he could be on that level of Jeremiah Smith, so much that we jumped him ahead of Coleman and Ryan Williams, 2 guys that we were heavy on as well. Number 3 here, I'm taking Decoria Moore out of Oregon. Absolutely looks like a stud. I think he's going to be a solid freshman. Oregon offense doesn't know how to use those type of wide receivers, though, so that could be a little bit worrisome. But so far, I mean, honestly, Decoria Moore might not be as high if Evan Stewart was healthy. Evan Stewart got banged up, missed a lot of the season. Corey Moore stepped up, and he's been looking great at Oregon as well. Who do we have at number 4?
Number 4, we got Nick Marsh here. I think this was you who bumped him up there.
Yeah.
But it's another guy who has a really solid build. To me, him and Cam Coleman kind of neck and neck for that wide receiver 2 spot for that 27 class.
Yeah. I may have bumped him up possibly, but I agree. I mean, because with Nick Marsh, if he isn't on Michigan State's offense, if he's with Auburn, for example, where Cam Coleman's at, and Cam Coleman's at Michigan State, who are we talking about more? Probably Nick Marsh. Right. If he's at Alabama, Ryan Williams at Michigan State, who are we talking about more? Same thing. Ohio State, Jeremiah Smith's a unicorn. I'm not going to do that comparison, but I do believe Nick Marsh is something that's going to be special at that next level. We talk about Cam Coleman being prototypical X. That's what Nick Marsh is. He's going to go out there and dominate, and I think he has really jumped that spot to be a nice wide receiver. And when it comes to these guys, I'm comfortable saying these 3 guys in the 2027 class are in that second tier behind Jeremiah as well. Number 5, who do you got here?
Yeah, my guy right here, I'm going to go with the first running back off the board here. That's Ole Miss running back Kewan Lacy. This guy, I mentioned him earlier, with him and Ahmad Hardy. They force a ton of missed tackles. They both have great vision. And Kewan Lacy to me just looks like the most complete back out of them all. Really good pass catcher also. Again, great vision, great movement. Within the tackles, he's not necessarily he doesn't have to be a zone guy. He doesn't have to be an outside runner. Right. This guy can pretty much do everything.
For sure. No, he runs vertical as well, but I mean he runs with so much elusiveness that he's able to hit the holes pretty quickly, and he sees the vision. Honestly, looking at his tape, his vision kind of reminds me of what it was with Caleb Johnson at Iowa. He just has solid vision where it's like wherever the hole is, he's hitting it. Like he just understands where his gaps are going to be, and he's going there. Even if it closes up, he could get there quick enough to go through and bust out as well. So I absolutely love that pick, being the first RB off the board. I'm not mad at that. I think he definitely deserves it. Transferring from Missouri to Ole Miss, he took that RB1 spot at Ole Miss, and he's ran away with it, no pun intended, but he has become that guy there. So I absolutely love that pick. That was phenomenal. I think he's going to continue to rise there as well at Ole Miss. Number 6 here, we take Ohio State quarterback Julian Sayin. I did switch it because I did have Raiola there. Sayin's looking like the real deal. Sayin's he's coming out there. He's doing everything we thought he did in high school. He's coming out here and doing it at the college level as well. He's looking absolutely phenomenal, throwing with, I want to say 100% accuracy. It's not. He's like 80% accuracy, though. He's looking great. Yes, you could say the wide receivers are there, but guess what? The wide receivers aren't leaving. You could say Cardell Tate's going. Well, he's got Jeremiah Smith and Millen Graham next year. Then he's got Quincy Porter. Then he's got Chris Henry Jr. It's going to go on and on. Brandon Ennis. Bo Jackson, James People. The weapons are there, and the offense looks better with Sayin there at the helm. He just looks phenomenal at the quarterback position there as well. Number 7, we have Alabama wide receiver Ryan Williams. Again, sit down, push him down a little bit. You mentioned the drops there. That's a big part of his game. He could be very fluid, but at the same time, that's being the top wide receiver, you have to really tighten that up there as well. Then 8, we have Cam Coleman here at Auburn. Neck and neck. Would you have put Coleman over Ryan Williams?
I would have, yeah. Honestly, I would have probably put him right after Kewan Lacy.
Cam Coleman? Okay. So, yeah, that could go either way. I think, though, when it comes to those wide receivers, again, it's going to be a nice little bunch, that 2027 class where we talk about after Jeremiah Smith and that core there. Number 9 here, we're going to go ahead and say Missouri running back Ahmad Hardy. I know you kind of, hit on him a little bit earlier. Looking phenomenal. Looking great, 5.9 yards per carry. This is a guy that jumped up from a G5 lesser competition to the SEC, arguably the most dominant conference in the nation, and has been looking great. 77% of his yards have came after contact, 61 missed tackles forced. If I'm not mistaken, that might lead the nation. 51 first down, so he's moving the chains there. He's absolutely looking phenomenal. Past 3 weeks, are the weeks he hasn't had over 100 yards. He started the season off every game over 100. Past 2 weeks, he has not had over 100 yards. He says 270 yards on the ground. 171 of those yards have came after contact alone. So he's really still been doing great. May not be the production and numbers, but you look at the fine lines and the stats there, it's like, okay, he's still doing what he does as a running back that needs to do it as well. Any disagreements on him at 9?
None. I say him and Kewan Lacy pretty clearly RB1 and 2 moving into next season.
The sad thing is, what Ahmad Hardy is doing at Missouri is everything we thought Mekhi Hughes was going to do at Oregon, and it just did not happen at all. And Ahmad Hardy's taking it by ship. I mean, he's looking great right now. Would you have? Jeremiah Love. We talked about the 101. Would Kewan and Ahmad Hardy be RB2, RB3 if they came out?
Probably not. I think Justice Haynes would still be that.
Okay.
But they'd be pretty close.
Okay. Jonah Coleman up there?
Jonah Coleman's up there too. Yeah. I mean, you're looking at the 3 guys who are coming out. I mean, you got 3 or 4 guys coming out just this year that might be ahead of them. But because you got to take into account you got Jonah Coleman and you got Bryson Washington who is possibly coming out. If Bryson Washington does not come out, matter of fact, I've got him a little bit lower down the board here. I probably have 2 or 3 guys in front of Bryson Washington moving into next season. But he's a guy who could definitely come out this year. He's a redshirt sophomore, so he is draft eligible. But yeah, I mean, Lacy and Ahmad Hardy, and then one of our next guys here, probably your top 3 guys moving into next season.
Let's talk about who's our 10 and 11 here.
10 and 11 here. We got Michigan QB Bryce Underwood. To me, he's looked outstanding, other than the fact that he's slightly inaccurate. But that's just that Michigan offense. There's not a whole lot of weapons to work with. We do have a Michigan wide receiver a little bit later on here in this draft. But it's really him and those running backs right now. And then number 11, we got running back out of Ohio State, Bo Jackson. Lamar Bo Jackson. What a great name for a running back, right?
Right.
This guy's about as dynamic as it gets. He doesn't need a whole lot of carries to explode. He didn't get a whole lot of carries this past weekend. Still went over 100 yards again. And he's got good size. I think he's over 210 pounds as a true freshman. So this guy has everything you want out of a running back.
Yeah, and with that offense, Ohio State, the way the Big Ten plays, they're going to build that offensive line, make sure he gets everything he needs to do to be successful as well. So he's only going to continue to rise here. Bryce Underwood, I do agree with, the inaccuracies as well. I think that's more the freshman flaws, right? He needs to get used to it and understand it. We see a lot of quarterbacks kind of do that during the freshman season. The next season they come out, but a lot of upside with Bryce Underwood there. So I do still think he holds that caliber of being a top guy. Next one, our 12 to round out the first round. It's quarterback Dylan Raiola. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I did have him before above saying he recently got hurt. I think it was fibula, if I'm not mistaken.
Broke his leg, yeah.
But he's out. He's out for the remainder of the season. He's improved his accuracy this year. I do think he needs to push the ball down a little bit more. He's not doing it as much. His ADOT took a dip, below 8 yards on his average depth of target there, and he's not really throwing the ball deep as much. I know he has a strong arm. He's a quarterback that can throw from different angles. I need to see more of that, but I have seen it that I'm like, okay, this kid has potential as well. Do you agree with Dylan Raiola at the cap of the first round?
Probably. He's definitely one of the top quarterbacks remaining after this season. I would have another one slightly ahead of him, but we'll get to him here in a few minutes also.
I almost switched it because I thought you were going to do that. I almost switched. I was like, no, we'll keep it with that. I want to see Raiola. People were comparing to Mahomes and stuff. Mahomes was throwing for 4,000 yards in college.
Right.
Raiola hasn't hit 3,000 yet. So, again, that goes with me wanting to see him push it down. Maybe that's – I want to say wide receivers, but we know they brought in Key. They know they have drawing the name Ja'Cory
Barney, yeah.
There as well.
Nazir Hunter.
They have weapons to push it down. So maybe it's the offense kind of just playing in a ball right now. We need to see that exploding because Raiola has that potential and that talent to lead it there as well. But that caps off our first round there. We'll go ahead and recap it here. We have Jeremiah Smith out of Ohio State, wide receiver, number 1. Dallas Wilson, Florida wide receiver, true freshman, number 2. True freshman, number 3, Oregon wide receiver, Decorian Moore. Michigan State wide receiver Nick Mars, Ole Miss first running back off the board, Kewan Lacy, Ohio State first quarterback off the board, Julian Sayin. Then we have Alabama wide receiver Ryan Williams, Auburn wide receiver Cam Coleman, Missouri running back Ahmad Hardy, quarterback out of Michigan Bryce Underwood, running back out of Ohio State Bo Jackson, and then quarterback out of Nebraska Dylan Raiola. Now let's start our second round here when we talk about it. This is going to be very fun because I think we both have names that we weren't really expecting here. But number 1, wide receiver Tennessee, Braylon Staley. I was actually the one that made this pick. I started watching this game. I was like, wait, this is a kid we need to talk about. Tennessee, I believe, is the only team in the nation that has 3 guys over 600 yards receiving right now. Brandon Staley does lead the team with 52 receptions, 703 yards, 5 touchdowns. He was Tennessee. What did I do though? Why have I been missing on it? What's so good about Braylon Staley?
He's mainly a slot guy that can play on the outside a little bit. So he's not just your standard inside guy. He can play all over. He is primarily a slot receiver. But he runs really good routes. He's got really good hands. He's got good speed. And in that Tennessee offense, they're starting to showcase more route running. You kind of see that, a little bit more from Chris Brazzell this year. Yep. They're not just, sending them straight down the field on fly routes. They're actually running a route tree now. And that has to do with actually having a competent quarterback that can fit the ball into him.
Joey Aguilar. Now, Aguilar is gonna be there another year, right? Or is he? No, he's a senior. Is he
Yeah,
a senior?
he's a senior. It's going to be
Okay.
it's going
So it's
to
gonna
be
be phase on.
it's going to be a competition, between George McIntyre and Faison Brandon next year.
Okay, that'll be a fun one to watch, especially with the offense is running what they have. Who are we taking at 102 here?
102. I got Baylor
202,
running back,
sorry.
202. Sorry, Baylor running back Bryson Washington. I think he could benefit from coming back, for another year. I think there's a lot of running backs in this upcoming class. And I going into next season, I think him and Ahmad Hardy and Kewan Lacy and even the next guy you're about to talk about could be the top 4 running backs for that draft class. Moving
Yeah.
on.
And Washington is one of the guys that is eligible to come out this year, but he might end up staying this next year as well. The next guy we have here is Florida running back, though, Jadan Baugh. I mean, we look at this Florida offense and what they're doing. It hasn't looked so great, but Jadan Baugh on one less attempt this season already. He still has a few games to play. One less attempt. He already has 13 more yards than last season. He's improving his yards per carry to 5.2, over 5 yards per carry last year. And then 68% of his yards came after contact as well. He's looking great. He made the freak list this past year, top 100 freak list. He's a strong physical runner, but he does have the contact balance to maintain his focus through it and gain those extra yards as well, which is why I feel he can end up being a type of workhorse type of back for him. His receiving's been there as well, 24 targets, catching 22 of them. Not really doing much as far as yards, 132 yards with receiving, but still looking really good right now what he's doing. And I feel we haven't seen him fully unlock yet. Like, we're seeing little tidbits of this is a guy that can be a good running back, but once they let him go and be like, all right, let's show your receiving skills more, we may be seeing a guy that could dominate as you enter top 4 of next year's class as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure he has that needed burst that the other guys have. But he is a very tough runner.
Yeah. And that's going to get him, potentially, he's not going to run a 4.3 or anything, probably a 4.5, 4.6 type of guy. But same time, NFL level, you need that plus the physicality to go out there and bully those guys, which Jadan Baugh may be able to do. We'll see. Next guy here, I think this is the guy you were talking about that you might have put over Raiola. I know this has been your guy. Who are we talking about?
Cincinnati quarterback Brendan Sorsby. He's another guy who could potentially come out this year. I think he could benefit from coming back for another season. He does have another year of eligibility, but he has that NFL cannon type of arm. He's a very, very good physical runner. Also, reminds me a lot of a Josh Allen type of player.
Okay.
He's not as big as Josh Allen, a couple inches shorter, but big, thick guy with a cannon for an arm.
Right. I want to pull up here. I don't know their full ranking or their full let me see here. Their record right now. I know they're doing pretty good here.
I think they're 6-2, maybe 7-2.
7-2 overall. They're 25. They just got back into the top 25 there. Yeah, no, I absolutely love Sorsby. I know you've been on him for a little bit now. Looking great. What he's doing on the ground is really what's impressive to me, because I knew he knew how to throw the ball. I knew he had good accuracy there as well. But he's, again, showing his dual threat ability by being able to escape that press and go deeper into it and, evade and extend those plays there, which is what you want in a quarterback. I don't necessarily need, granted, for a fan's perspective, for NFL, if you have a quarterback that can rush and get you 100 yards a game, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, fantastic. But I don't necessarily need that in a quarterback. I need them to be able to escape the pressure and extend those plays in the backfield and still get the ball to the receivers. That's what Sorsby can do. But he does have the wills to go out there and get those yardage as well. But I believe he's really developing into a top quarterback to say, okay, this is a guy that needs more attention, more national attention, that might be covered because he's in the Big 12, because at Cincinnati, because Big 12 is kind of a clunker right now as far as everyone's still kind of in the race in a sense. There are a lot of 2-loss teams there where, undefeated teams we'll talk about a little bit later, but a lot of 2-loss teams that are still kind of fighting for opportunity to kind of push into that potential playoff as we get down the stretch here. Good pick there, though. Number 5, we took Clemson wide receiver Bryant Wesco. Now, I will say Bryant Wesco should be higher. I'll say that. But the injury is a very scary injury. It's a neck injury. You always hate to see that when it comes to these guys, any injury for that matter. But with those neck injuries, you hate it because at this point now it's very careful, right? It's a potential, knock on wood, potential career-ending type of injury because this is something that's big. Where, as you know, your neck controls a lot of it. Where if something snaps wrong, you're done.
Yep.
That's not just for football. That's like life in a sense where you can no longer do a lot of things. So very scary injury. The talent is there for Brian Wesco. He is a phenomenal wide receiver. We want him to have a smooth, healthy recovery. It is possible he drops further. Right now, we put him at 205 because what we saw on tape was amazing for him. Any other thoughts on him?
I just got to see the recovery. From
Facts.
what I understand, he really escaped that kind of Justin Ross territory, where his career was threatened. Where his career was going to be threatened because of it. He is expected to make a full recovery, but we just got to see it first.
Right, for sure. And we'll talk about his teammate here a little later, I do believe. Maybe not. I'm looking at it. But now let's go into number 6. Who do you have at number 6? 206.
206, I got LSU running back Harlem Berry.
Okay.
To me, he looks a lot like Jahmyr Gibbs as far as his running style and his capability. He's not a big guy. He's probably right. I think he's 195, 200 pounds, something like that. But as a true freshman, that's not terrible. He still has time to put on good weight there. But he's explosive. He has good movement, good wiggle. And I actually have him above his teammate Caden Durham because of that.
Yeah, and to be honest, we'll have Caden Durham a little bit later here, but those could be a phenomenal 1-2 punch because Durham really can be a physical runner as well. So if you have them be that thunder and lightning combo, they could be dominant. Kind of like a Arian Foster Ben Tate type of movement there, where they just look great there in the backfield. I'm talking about when they were the Texans, they didn't play college together. Then we have number 7, wide receiver out of Miami, Malachi Toney. Really a guy, came out of the woodworks for me. I didn't have him scouted as much, before the season. And as a true freshman, he's on my radar, and I'm making sure I'm paying attention to what he's doing moving forward. Excuse me. Plays big, plays fast, knows how to move around the field, knows how to find open shot spots, can also play physical and get the ball up in the air, snagging away from defenders. Great concentration, great hit movement. He really checks all the boxes and is looking phenomenal for Miami right now. Any thoughts on him?
Yeah, as a true freshman, you come out as your team's wide receiver 1, just immediately off the bat. Not many. I mean, you don't see that very often. So for a guy who's not a very big guy. I mean, he's right 6 foot, 180 pounds, something like that. But he plays bigger than what he is, and he's not scared to go across the middle of the field.
Yep. He's looking phenomenal there, and I'm excited to see what his growth can be like as well. Gets me more excited for these wide receivers coming out. Speaking of wide receivers, number 208, again, wide receiver it said that for a reason. Who we have at 208?
Yeah, 208 here. Quincy Porter. Going into the season, even Jeremiah Smith said that this is the next guy up. This is the next guy for Ohio State after he leaves. So going into next season with Carnell Tate leaving, you're probably looking at a duo of Jeremiah Smith and Quincy Porter there on the outside. And I think that, Porter, to me, has more ability. I think Porter has more ability than Carnell Tate. And the fact that Jeremiah Smith has come out and said that this guy is the next, basically him, is pretty good praise.
Yeah, and that's just absolutely insane because we're talking about Quincy Porter. He's saying next guy up. He hasn't seen Chris Henry Jr., and Chris Henry Jr. is a monster as well. This guy's 6'5", 200 pounds as a senior. And we have Quincy Porter. You're going to go from Jeremiah Smith to Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate to Jeremiah Smith and Quincy Porter to Quincy Porter and Chris Henry Jr. to where the next guy up. They just keep on cycling. And these are just guys that we assume are there again. Brandon Ennis, Millen Gramps, 2 guys that are still really good wide receivers. They have a cycle of wide receivers. There's probably guys that we don't even know on the team that are dominant, and they're just like, these are secret weapons where if something happens, we're still good, right? Quincy Porter is going to be an absolute monster. I'm excited to see what he can do. And Jeremiah Smith is noticing that this is a guy that you got to trust it, and he's definitely going to be the next one up there. Number 9, we had Caden Durham again. Harlem Berry took that step above, a little bit more burst to him. Caden Durham still looks good. Nice wide receiver, or excuse me, running back that can catch the ball as well. But Harlem Berry is kind of taking that step above in there. Number 10, quarterback Arch Manning out of Texas. Thoughts on him?
Yeah, Arch has really taken a fall since the beginning of the year. He is playing a lot better lately, but we got to see it more consistently from him, right? But right now, I think towards the end of the second round is probably pretty fair for him. There's still, obviously he still has upside. But again, we have to see more consistency. Again, last couple of weeks he has played well, but we really need to see what we're expecting to see from him.
With Arch Manning, it was it was basically like Heisman or bust. That's where his level was. You're gonna play as a Heisman or you're not gonna be that level. But he's playing good as a quarterback. He's playing really well. It's just not the fireworks we were like, this is gonna be the next great quarterback ever to play the game, generational talent, all that kind of good stuff. Well, it's not happening there.
And there's still some things that he's still not doing correctly, I guess is what you could say. There's still some throws you look at and be like, man, what are you thinking here? Right. There's still some reads he's making that are incorrect reads where he has something else open to him but he makes the wrong read. Right. Sometimes he seems to get a little flustered and panicked under pressure. We got to see a little bit better from him.
For sure. Which is kind of why I have this next guy here right behind him, because I think this is a guy that definitely raised his draft stock there as well. And that's going to be Cal quarterback Jaron-Keawe Sagapolutele. I think I said that correctly. Absolutely looking phenomenal here. He's 70-time big-time throws. He's not spending a lot of time holding the ball. He's getting the ball up pretty quickly there. 60% completion. His touchdown interception ratio isn't great. 11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He has taken a dip. But I really feel this is a guy that we saw a lot of star talent beginning of the season. Teams just kind of adjusted and said, all right, we're going to take you over a little bit. But I feel he's someone that I don't know if Cal's the right answer for him, but he's someone that could develop into one of the potential top quarterbacks in his draft class as well if he continues this trajectory that he's on there as well.
You're just saying that because you want him to transfer to Oregon.
Yeah, I hope he does. I'm not gonna lie. We'll see. There's rumor that Dante Moore, may end up staying and stuff, but it's like, no, I think if JK ends up doing it and does what Dante Moore, ironically went to California school, came back to Oregon, sat a year. We could say the same thing for JKS, and
he was committed to Oregon, so
yeah. And if that happens, I haven't said it, but I've heard rumbles of QBU out of Oregon, because they're four starting quarterbacks. But right. I do think he has the talent, and I think he's not going to put him over Arch, but I think he's there. I think he definitely, again, we got to see a lot more of him, but I do like what I'm seeing so far. Our next guy here is Georgia running back Nate Frazier, kind of taking a dip here as far as what we had him earlier. I had him as Devy RB1 going in. The Georgia offense hasn't looked as strong as far as their running game in recent years. And Nate Frazier, he's still a good running back. They just haven't used him. And then trying to blank on the name, the guy that's really been taking over for him.
Chauncey Bowens,
taking over the reins for him and really been less than Nate Frazier, more Chauncey Bowens. So curious to see what he can do there at that next level or what he can do moving forward as well.
Yeah, Frazier's had some fumbling issues, early in the season. He's getting that corrected, but he's just not the big time runner that we're all expecting coming into the season.
Right. Now, our recap for round 2, we had Tennessee wide receiver Braylon Staley at 201. Then we had Baylor running back Bryson Washington at 202. Florida running back Jadan Baugh at 203. Cincinnati quarterback Brendan Sorsby at 204. Clemson wide receiver Bryant Westco at 205. 206 LSU running back Harlem Berry. 207 wide receiver out of Miami Malachi Toney. 208 Ohio State wide receiver Quincy Porter. 209 running back out of LSU Caden Durham. 210 Texas quarterback Arch Manning, 211 Jaron-Keawe Sagapolutele out of the Cal at 211, and then 212 Georgia running back Nate Frazier. Now to cap off our top 36 here in ours, we're gonna go over to round 3, and we're gonna start it with the guy that I didn't think he was gonna rise this quickly, but he has, and that's gonna be Oregon running back Dierre Hill. Dierre Hill has played like an absolute monster. He has been phenomenal for Oregon right now. Currently, he leads Oregon in yards per carry out of running backs, 9.9 yards per carry, 268 yards after contact. That's 75% of his yards coming after contact. 17 missed tackles forced. 30% of his attempts were 10 plus yards or more. Looking great. He has the burst, has the juice. Oregon has running backs that they're using, multiple running backs that they're using, so it's not him. So
he needs more carries.
I'm curious to see what he does when he has more.
Yeah, he needs more carries.
Yeah, he's looking great. And a guy we have later on here, we'll talk about too, the other Oregon running back who leads the team in touchdowns. Looks great too. But Dierre Hill, man, I mean, he's going to be something special. He continues this trajectory. He's going to be what you run a running back. You mentioned Jahmyr Gibbs earlier. I mean, with the way the Oregon offense looks, that juice, that explosiveness that Dierre Hill brings, it's nice. And I'm excited to see what he continues to do there as well.
I've told you, several weeks ago, Dierre Hill reminds me of the next Bucky Irving there in that, that offense.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he's playing exactly what we thought. I know they have Noah Whittington, Jaden Lamar there as well, kind of ahead of them there as far as the depth chart, but Dierre Hill and Jordan Davison both look great as true freshmen there as well. Speaking of running backs, you have a guy that you've been coming over on a little bit more here at the running back position. Who is it?
Yeah, Louisville running back Isaac Brown. I've kind of been a little bit lower on him in the past, but I've recently started coming around on him. He's a big play waiting to happen. I still think he may have injury issues moving into the next level of pro ball. But he's the definition of boom or bust when it comes to running back. But when he does boom, it booms. He's going to break off a 65-yarder on you. He has breakaway, runaway speed. And again, he's just a big play waiting to happen.
He is going to be out for the foreseeable future. You mentioned that injury or injury concerns. It is a leg injury, but so far, I mean, looking great. 91 attempts, 792 yards, and 5 touchdowns for the Cardinals this season. Again, big explosive type of runner that could, transition well if he gets in the right spot there as well. But that size can play a factor there. Number 3, Michigan wide receiver Andrew Marks. We've seen flashes of it. Need to see more, but so far what we've seen, I absolutely love it. What do you think about him?
Yeah, you're going to have him and Bryce Underwood kind of growing together, in that offense over the next couple of years. By the time they're both draft eligible, I foresee them both being potential first-round draft picks in the NFL draft.
Okay, nice. Andrew Morris there too. Really good. Alabama quarterback at 304, Kewan Russell. Hasn't seen the field yet, to be honest. He could be higher. The way Ty Simpson's played with this offense gets me more excited for Kewan Russell, because if Ty Simpson can do that, I absolutely 100%, 110% believe that Kewan Russell's going to do the exact same thing or better.
Russell has a much higher ceiling than what Ty Simpson does, in my opinion.
Right.
Ty Simpson's has decent athleticism and mobility, but I think Kewan Russell has elite athleticism. Yeah. So, I mean, moving into next season, whenever Ty Simpson's probably gone, he's projected as a first-round draft pick. Kewan Russell being that next guy there in that Bama offense, I think the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah, you're gonna have Ryan Williams there with him. That's gonna be looking great. Maybe Derek Meadows gets healthy in there as well. I mean, then they're bringing in some wide receivers too, so it's gonna be a nice little weapons there for him there too. Quarterbacks, but this is a quarterback run here, I guess, because then we have Maryland quarterback Malik Washington, 6'5", 230, 220, I think. Nice quarterback, looking really good, has the arm, displaying the strength to go up there and push it down the field. Looking really good as far as the intelligence, the IQ of the game, and understanding it. Going in as a freshman at Maryland, I mean, you're still in the Big Ten, so he's actually doing some really good things there. Hey, thoughts on Malik Washington?
Yeah, the only problem with Malik Washington is that he plays for Maryland. So the exposure it's just not going to be there because Maryland's just not going to be a very good team.
Right.
And you're seeing that, over the past several weeks is that Maryland's just not very good.
Yeah.
But the bet, as Malik Washington continues to grow as a quarterback, maybe that Maryland program can continue to grow around him.
Right.
So maybe by the time he is draft eligible, maybe we are looking at him as being a, potential QB 1, 2, 3, that class.
Right. Yeah, I think maybe he transfers out. You never know. We're gonna have some teams that league the quarterback, right? So it could be him as the next one. Maybe he goes to Penn State and does something crazy there. I don't know. But the other quarterback, a guy that dropped, sadly for both of us, was our Devy QB1, but for reasons that we don't need to say why he dropped, Florida quarterback DJ Lagway. Still absolutely love the talent. Still think he has potential to rise his draft stock. Hopefully we see a new bump with the new coach at the helm there. But Lagway, I think, regardless, should still be taking your Devy draft because there is still some hope in what he can do there.
Yeah. I mean, if Lagway doesn't get Lane Kiffin there at Florida, which would be the top option, obviously.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think he needs to transfer out to like a Texas Tech, go play in that Zach Kitley offense.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Really display his passing ability.
Yeah, that'd be phenomenal. He definitely just needs someone that's going to develop his passing game and his understanding on where to make those right throws down the field. But I do think the strength, the athleticism's there to go out there and be an NFL caliber quarterback when it's all said and done. Number 7, wide receiver, Texas, Ryan Wingo, really coming in. I love the separation isn't there, but what he's doing these past few weeks is what we needed to see at the very beginning, because it would have been like, okay, yeah, you are the guy. But he's kind of playing a little bit more physical, getting the ball in his hands and everything. But again, the separation isn't there, but he's still getting the targets now, which is what we wanted to see. Yeah. And that's what really matters. If you could come down with the targets, then you're good. And that's what Ryan Wingo's doing.
Yeah, he's a physical receiver. I mean, he's 6'2", 215, 220. Mm-hmm. He showed some explosion the other day with that 75-yard screen pass he took to the house. But we just don't see it whenever he gets downfield running routes, right?
Right.
He's I don't want to call it lazy, as far as a route runner, but maybe he's a little bit lazy as a route runner and needs to crispen it up a little.
Right. Yeah, I think he could do a little bit more for him there. Sorry, I had a fly going there. He could do. We do need to see more a polished route tree for him to just show that he can actually go out there and do different things and just being that physical type of wide receiver.
And that may be why he's not getting the separation.
His route tree, yeah, agreed. But you have another wide receiver in the Big 12, or not? Texas is not the Big 12 anymore, so my mistake. But Kansas State wide receiver Jayce Brown. Talk to us about him.
Yeah, another guy who could potentially come out this year, but I think he would benefit from coming back another season. Jayce Brown, 6 foot, 175-pound receiver, but he's a burner. This guy can get you deep, and you're not catching him. He's got a lot of Deshaun Jackson there, in my opinion. Just kind of watching him, how Deshaun Jackson would just burn you deep. Jayce Brown is kind of that dude.
Yeah. Emmett Johnson is a nice college quarterback, but it's not the quarterback you need to go out there and get first-round capital, which is what I think Jayce Brown needs, that type of quarterback, because he really can be that upper echelon type of wide receiver. He's really good. It's just the quarterback plays that gain him the ball all the time as well. Number 9 here, 309, running back out of USC, King Miller. Now, this is a guy that has been absolutely a stud, in my opinion. He's taken over the backfield to be USC's like Raven Jordan's out, and it's really been King Miller as a freshman coming in to do it. 18 attempts, or has averaged 18 attempts per game, 119 yards per game, 6.6 yards per carry. 59% of his 357 yards have came after contact, and it's just looking phenomenal. He's going out there. He's played really quick. What you were talking about, Kewan Lacy, that's kind of how King Miller kind of plays there, that vision and that explosive to get through the gaps really early and make those big plays. I have been burned by USC running backs before, but I do like King Miller so far what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and it kind of confuses me how teams missed on him because he was a preferred walk on.
Yeah,
You know, how in the world does that happen with a guy that looks like that for one with his
right,
size, and then you look at the ability on top of it, it's like how are teams missing on him?
right. Like, why are we not looking at him, scouting him before? I mean, I'm a factor of that too. I missed on him earlier too. I was like, this is it. I was looking at Eli Sanders behind Waymon Jordan, right? And then Key
Mhm.
Miller's like, nah, this is my spot. He's coming out here
Eli
doing
Sanders
great
got
things.
yeah. I mean, whenever Jordan and Sanders went down with injury,
Yeah.
King Miller just kind of took over and is like, is he? I mean, it doesn't look like he's ever going to give it back up.
Right, he's out there dominating so far. So absolutely love what I'm seeing King Miller. Again, I've been burned by USC running backs, so kind of hope he ends up taking what he does this year. Is like, all right, I'm out. I'm going to maybe an SEC school or another Big Ten upper echelon. Maybe Oregon or not Oregon. I guess they have Dierre Hill. You can't say Ohio State. They have Bo Jackson. Maybe he goes to Penn State and they have something great for him. I don't know,
I
but
mean, stay at USC. I mean, he's the number. He's going to be the number one
yeah.
back there.
Yeah, he's looking great so far there. But I mean, speaking of running backs, this was our running back run to end it. We had a quarterback run, a couple wide receivers. Now we're on a running back run. Who are you taking after King Miller here?
Yeah, this guy has actually moved up draft boards, so it's a possibility he does not come back for his senior season. But running back out of Nebraska, Emmett Johnson. He is, he's a dynamic runner. Really, really good pass catcher out of the backfield. Matter of fact, he may be the best pass catcher out of the backfield in the entire country. Which, to me, if he could put on another 10 pounds, you're looking at a guy who could potentially be like an Alvin Kamara type runner.
Okay, good comp there for him. I mean, again, Nebraska. We were talking about Raiola earlier. They haven't had to do a lot of stuff because they have a running back in Emmett Johnson. Really, the way he's been playing is the way I wanted Dante Dallo to play for them last year. He just didn't. Transferring out, Emmett Johnson came in, and Emmett Johnson's been taking it himself. He's been a big part of the offense to really elevate their running game to be something special. And again, you mentioned he can potentially declare this year, which would be something nice for him. With the running backs, it's gonna be. Do you think you could do more? We've seen some running backs stay that hurts them, but we've seen them go and it doesn't do anything for them. So it's a very slippery slope for running backs.
Well, with Johnson here, I think what could potentially push him over that kind of that tipping point to declare is is his age. He's already 22 years old.
Yeah.
So that may be something working against him coming back for another season.
Right, for sure. And as I said, we're going to run it out with some running backs here. Number 11 in the third round, we have Florida State running back Usman Kroma, vertical runner. He's had a little bit of juice in his opportunities at Florida State. Need to see more, but I do like what we're seeing. And number 12, Oregon running back Jordan Davison, physical type of goal line back, but also has that boost, kind of like a LeGarrette Blount, to be honest. 10 touchdowns, though, leads the Oregon Ducks as far as rushing touchdowns so far.
Yeah, but he's not a big fat back like Blount was.
Yeah. No, he just has the juice, though. Yeah, Blount was way bigger, though. Blount was probably like 30 pounds bigger than what Davison is, though. But again, you have that combo of him in the air. It's pretty nice there for him. Mm-hmm. But to round out our third round, to give you a recap here, we had Oregon running back Dierre Hill at the 301. 302, we had Louisville running back Isaac Brown. 303, Michigan running back or wide receiver, Andrew Marsh. 304, quarterback out of Alabama, Keelan Russell. 305, quarterback out of Maryland, Malik Washington. 306, quarterback out of Florida, DJ Lagway. 307, wide receiver out of Texas, Ryan Wingo. 308, wide receiver out of Kansas State, Jayce Brown. 309, running back out of USC, King Miller. 310, running back out of Nebraska, Emmett Johnson. 311, Florida State running back Usman Kroma. And 312, Oregon running back Jordan Davison. That's our top 36 right now. If we were doing a Devy Degens today on how we think it could go for you, just a lot of talent there. There's still some talent on the board that we didn't speak of, but it's always nice looking at these calls, landscapes, and how we adjusted. Again, some of these guys, we've been talking about them since before the season, since before when they were freshmen. So these guys we didn't even mention before the season, and they kind of risen on our draft boards, right? So a lot of talent always in the college football landscape. It's always changes, so always be tuned to it. And as we progress, as Tommy mentioned earlier, we're going to end up doing a freshman, including the freshman class, and deeper mocks than that as well. So before we let y'all go, we like to do our games of the week and our games to watch. Tommy, talk to us about some of the games of the week.
Yeah, big game in the American Athletic Conference. We got Tulane visiting Memphis, who's the number 22 team in the country for this week. Somehow Memphis is getting all their big games at home for this year, which is good for them because we see when they go on the road they're not very good. Considering that horrendous loss to UAB a few weeks ago.
Right.
But this is a huge game with big time playoff implications here.
Right.
Rhett's left for Tulane, Greg DeRozier's at Memphis. I think this could be a pretty exciting matchup.
Yeah. Retzlaff, I mean, speaking of Retzlaff, a lot of people, including part of myself, I thought it was going to be more of a running, team as far as what BYU is going to do once Retzlaff left.
Mm-hmm.
But freshman quarterback Bear Beckmeyer, BYU is number 8 right now. They go to Texas Tech, number 9. That's going to depend. I think that's going to determine the Big 12 winner potentially.
Yeah, this is the biggest game of the week. If Texas Tech takes another loss, they're probably out, right? BYU be number 8 right now, having to go to Texas Tech. If they win this, they're potentially a top 5 team then, right? So, Bear Bachmeyer, Chase Roberts, LJ Martin, they're all having a really solid season. Baron Morton's just came back for Texas Tech. He's going to have to stay healthy for them because Will Hammonds is out for the rest of the season too.
Yeah.
So he's their only real legitimate quarterback option. But they got a good running game. Jacoby Williams and Cameron Dickey. They're having real good years. Cameron Douglas on the outside there for them. It's going to be a pretty exciting matchup.
Yeah, I'm going to continue to beat the drum on Chase Roberts. If you don't know about him, go watch the tape. This guy's silky smooth in his routes, reliable wide receiver. I'm going to be pushing the button come draft time, drafting so much Chase Roberts shares this year. Number 3, Texas A&M travels to Missouri. Number 19, Texas A&M is the best team in the SEC. I am standing by that right now. Their defense is solid. Their offense is explosive. Missouri, though, has the potential to upset. We talked about Ahmad Hardy earlier. And we didn't mention, Craver. He's great college wide receiver, a little bit undersized. Marcel Reed's a Heisman candidate, undersized as well. But I mean, is there a chance Missouri upsets Texas A&M?
I'm going to say no. With Bo Prabilla being out, I'm going to say no. They're going to with a true freshman, Matt Zollers, who very highly recruited guy. But whenever you start turning the ball over to a true freshman, in the middle of the season. It can get a little dicey for you, especially when you're playing a top 5 team like it's like Texas A&M here.
True.
I think Texas A&M is going to keep rolling until that end of the year matchup with with Texas.
Fair. No, I absolutely love it. I think he's going to be a great matchup there as well. Speaking of the SEC, LSU travels to Tuscaloosa to play Alabama, number 4. Can LSU turn it around and upset them, or is this an Alabama blowout?
No, I think this is an Alabama blowout. LSU's offense just hasn't been there this year to the point where they've not only fired their offensive coordinator, but they fired Brian Kelly also. I think this LSU team is basically done for. They're playing for next year now. Offensively, they're going to have to try to figure out something because they've done, a whole bunch of nothing. And going into this game against Alabama, who's able to put up big time points with all those big time players they got, this could get ugly pretty quickly.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. Now, some games to watch here. Those were our games of the week. Games to watch. Oregon, number 6, goes to Iowa. Is there a chance Iowa pulls off an upset here?
If you look at the way Oregon's offense played, against who they just beat, was it Wisconsin? Was that last weekend? They didn't look too great in that game. But I think Iowa always figures out a way to stay competitive, right? So this is an interesting game. I mean, I could see Oregon being on upset alert here. I'm not necessarily going to put them on upset alert, but this is one of those games that they better watch out for.
Yeah, for sure. I think it could go south really quick. They're a team that they can put up numbers in bunches and score really well, but they're also a team where they kind of get them, they beat themselves, and then it just leads to disaster after disaster, and they just can't capitalize on making it a separation in a game like this. It's easy to get caught up and not separate yourself away from it. Northwestern at USC, number 20. Northwestern has potential to pull off upside. Like USC, what they're doing, but Northwestern play some strong football there as well. Any thoughts on that game?
Yeah, they're playing pretty well. What's Northwestern? They're like 6-2 right now. 5. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, so I mean they're playing halfway decently. This is a big game for Southern Cal though. 5-3. There you go. Big game for Southern Cal. Their playoff hopes. They're going to have to win out in order to have any shot at all. So Jad Mayava, Makai Lemon, King Miller, Jacoby Lane. They're all just going to have to be in sync these next few games. Yeah,
it's going to be every game matters at this point. For if you're trying to get in, you have to win out. Speaking of Navy at Notre Dame, number 10. Put this one out here because Navy has a nice little run game. I know Notre Dame has it too. The thing is, Navy doesn't have a defense like Notre Dame has. So that's going to be the deciding factor. Jeremiah Love could easily run for like 400 yards this week. On the flip side, maybe Navy tries to stay there with their running game as well and just runs the clock down. I don't know, but thoughts on here?
Navy just kind of got pounded over the weekend. I don't think that they're going to hang in this game at all. Notre Dame going to be too much too early, and they're going to coast to a win.
Okay, fair. And then what I want to put on here, because this is going to be a fun one, Duke at UConn. We talked about Darian Mensa and Cooper Bartek earlier. Cooper Bartek looking like a good wide receiver for Darian Mensa. On the flip side, though, if I'm not mistaken, give me 1 second. I think he leads the nation, or he's top.
Yes, this right here is one of my sleepers in the NFL draft.
Yeah, so he's second in the nation behind Danny Scordo. Skylar Bell out of UConn. Skylar Bell. 994 yards, absolutely played out his mind right now. 74 receptions, 994 yards, 11 touchdowns right now. Cooper Bartek, 45 receptions, 774 yards, 5 touchdowns. Both these guys have really just – I'm going to go back and watch their tape because I'm like, all right, these are guys I wasn't paying attention to at all. Skylar Bell, though, out of UConn. I mean, we don't talk about UConn players a lot, but you said he's a sleeper. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great route runner. Very crisp, and he's dependable wide receiver. He's really that entire offense there.
Right.
He's going to get 10 to 15 targets every game, basically. And I mean, you look at their quarterback also. I think their quarterback leads the country in touchdown to interception ratio. I think he's got 22 touchdowns and 0 picks.
Let me see here. Let's take a look at the
Joe Finano.
Yep, 22 touchdowns, 0 picks. You were correct. So looking really good there. Mensa 21 and 2 picks. So this is gonna be. We're saying game. We should have put this in game of the week because this could be an absolutely fireworks show. What we like to see in offenses, we could see both these wide receivers just go out there and do big things, have big plays. 2 touchdowns, 180 yards for both of them potentially.
Well, and also don't forget for Duke, you got Keyshawn Brown there also, really good wide receiver.
I just want to point out Skylar Bell too. Past 3 weeks, 10 receptions, 125 yards and the touchdowns. 8 receptions, 158 yards and the touchdowns. 8 receptions, 149 yards and 3 touchdowns. 11 touchdowns on the season, as I mentioned. He's been on a tear. He's been, like you said, the focal point of the offense there. So that's to be a very exciting game for him. Duke versus UConn, the game we probably didn't think we'd ever be talking about, but here we are. We're going to probably watch it, see what these guys do as far as wide receivers and quarterbacks too. I mean, Fagano and Mensa look good too. So could be very nice for him as well. That's all we have for y'all this week. We appreciate everyone tuning in. As you know, we are the Devy Degens. We are here every Monday for y'all just to talk ball with y'all, talk about some recaps and do different things among the Devy just to make sure you're prepared for the future. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are looking for the best value in your Devy boards as far as players, not just the picks, as far as players. Make sure you check out the Dynasty Trade Calculator. Use promo code DGEN, DEGEN. Get that first month free where we have tons of Devy players ranked in there for you to make sure you can figure out, hey, if I'm trying to, get rid of Oronde Gasson, whose side target as a Devy player right now. Figure that information out. Don't forget to use the promo code for Fast Draft too. If you're still in the mode to draft and want to get that, use promo code DEGEN, DEGEN for that as well. Go out there and get yourself a little extra cash there where you're making a draft. For everyone in the Devy DJ community, we appreciate y'all tuning in. And until next time, later.